Hey guys, Kevin from Kevin's Off-Road here. We're going to talk a little bit today about long arm kits and lift kits, why you might want a long arm kit, and when a regular short arm lift kit kind of runs out. Now we're going to talk directly about, we'll talk about the TJ, the XJ Cherokee, the WJ Grand Cherokee, and the ZJ Grand Cherokee, because they all are fairly similar underneath. The WJ is a little bit different from the rest of them, but the XJ, the TJ, and the ZJ are very, very, very similar. Basically, round about, say, 2.5, 3.5 inches worth of lift. You're going to start getting some pretty, what will I call it, negative results the more you lift. So basically, exponentially speaking, the ride quality is going to get worse and worse. And the reason is because of the angle of the lower control arms. So from the factory, the lower control arms are basically parallel with the ground. When you start adding lift to it, the angle goes up substantially. So you add 1/2 inch worth of lift, goes up maybe a degree or two. You add 1.5 inches worth of lift, it goes up maybe 5 or so degrees, not that much. And then you start getting up into the 3.5 inch range, and you're talking maybe I don't know, 10 or 15% or something angle on those lower control arms. So what happens is when you hit a bump, basically the axle tries to soak up that bump as best it can, supporting the frame of the Jeep above it. The higher the angle, the more the axle has to kick forwards at the same time as it's rotating upwards. So in other words, if your factory control arms were level, the axle would basically sweep directly straight up and down, which is really optimal. It may even sweep back ever so slightly at the upper range of the suspension stroke. With 3.5 inches worth of lift, basically you have to come back to zero. So your axle has to move further forward to get back to parallel before it starts sweeping rearward. You can kind of think of this as basically an arc. And the arc pivot point is your lower control arm mount on your frame. So basically, a lower control arm that is longer would give less of an arc. That is why a long arm kit rides so nice and smooth on, you know, washboard roads and highways and that sort of thing, because you're basically allowing the axle to rotate in a more natural fashion straight up and down than if you had short arms. Now, when you go start adding more than, say, 3.5 inches worth of lift, you really start getting a really quickly degraded ride quality. So basically, the cutoff point, as far as I'm concerned, is about 3.5 inches worth of lift is about the max you'd want to go on short arms. I've seen people run 6.5 inches on short arms. Can it be done? Yes, it can be done, but it's really a crappy ride, and you're working against physics, and it's just a hell of a lot easier to just install a long arm kit, albeit obviously the cost of the long arm kit. The long arm kit is just the way to go about doing it. I would even suggest that anything above 3 inches, you might as well just graduate to a long arm kit at that point. So basically the hopping off point being around 3 inches. If you want to keep it cheap and low and slow, you can basically just go ahead and say, you know, 2 inches worth of lift, 3 inches or something like that, and you'll be okay, you know. It'll still ride reasonably well. If you get a really good shock and spring combo together, you know, it'll ride as good as stock would have. But if you start going above that, seriously start thinking about long arms and just save your pennies. I mean, you could buy a whole bunch of, you know, adjustable short arm, you know, that you could adjust the front axle outward so that you can fit your tires, and you can get adjustable track bars and all kinds of different things. But the long arm kit comes with all of that stuff. So you're really kind of double spending money unless you plan to only go to, say, 3.5 or 4 inches worth of lift on your short arm kit. The way it works with most people is, you know, too much is never enough kind of thing. I know I've certainly done that on my own Jeeps, where it's like, well, I'll just go, you know, 2 inches for now. Yeah, and then maybe I'll bump up to like 4. then how great would it be for 6? And, could I fit a 37 under here? And, it just, we get carried away. So anyway, I'm suggesting to you that you keep it really inexpensive until you get to the point when it's time to graduate to a long arm system, and then when you do so, you just don't even look back. You don't have to worry about all of the fitment issues with tires and having to trim the stuff because it won't quite fit with your factory length control arms and so on and so forth. Like, all of that stuff is eliminated. So again, 3 inches, 3.5, that's kind of the jumping off point in my opinion. It's again, this is mostly opinion based here. I've got a hell of a lot of experience, and yet at the same time, I certainly know that I don't have all the answers. I certainly know that other people have other opinions and so on. So if you got an opinion that deviates from what I'm saying, I'd love to hear from you. Go ahead and post below, and everybody can learn from the back and forth between us. Other than that, just let me know how you feel about, what my point is here about the whole jumping off point for long arms versus short arms. I'd really love to hear from some folks that have long arm kits already installed. Give me your feedback also, and tell me if you think that 3 or 3.5 inches is a good jumping off point, or whether you think that some other number is a good point. My particular opinion is just simply that you can do a really inexpensive lift up to about 3 inches. When you get up to about 2.5, 3.5, somewhere in there, it starts getting exponentially more expensive. And so you could save all of that expense by just going and biting the bullet and going with the Cadillac ride quality that you would get out of a long arm kit by spending admittedly more money, but your money is going to be better spent in a better direction. You're going to get a far better bang for your buck out of, say, a $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 expenditure than trying to piecemeal it together and trying to get 5 inches or so and fit 33-inch tires or so and having to trim the crap out of everything and so on and so forth. So anyway, love to hear from you. Please post up below, and if you have any questions, please let us know. My name's Kevin. I've got KevinsOffroad.com. We've been in business since 1999, I guess. Yeah. So 20 years worth, and we know some stuff. So if you know some stuff also and you disagree, I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again, really appreciate it. Sales@KevinsOffroad.com is where you can reach us. That's all for now. Hope you're having a great day, and again, if you have any questions, let us know.